For to you do I cry all the day. Give ear, O Lord, to my prayer. Listen to my plea for grace. Just like David, you and I need God's grace for everything we do. Have you cried out to Him for help today? I'm Nancy DeMoss Wagamuth from Revive Our Hearts for OneCry.com.
Greetings, KELP listeners. My name is Terry Gray, and I have the joy and privilege of serving as the pastor of Calvary Chapel Sun City, located on the west side of El Paso. I also have the joy of connecting with the radio audience in the borderland through the Summons broadcast heard each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on this station. On Summons, we study the Bible book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, precept by precept. Please join us each weekday at 5 p.m. for Summons right here on KELP.
You are listening to KELP El Paso. Feed your mind, feed your soul at 1590 AM, 95.9 FM. Streaming worldwide at KELPradio.com.
915 Talk is a production of Desert Voice Media. You can visit desertvoice.media to learn more.
915 TALK.
The world is looking at El Paso.
What will we say to the world? From the KELP studio in El Paso, this is 915 Talk.
And now your host.
Brand new state. Gonna treat you great. Gonna give you barley, carrots, and potatoes. Pasture for the cattle, spinach and tomatoes. Flowers on the prairie where the June bugs zoom. Plenty of air and plenty of room to swing a rope. Plenty of hope, heart, and plenty of hope. Kenny on the board.
Yes, sir.
Do you know what the lyrics this song is for?
No, I don't.
You don't know?
No, I don't know.
It's do you ever watch musicals?
Not really.
Not really?
Not really. Not
some
of the more classic ones like Fiddler on the Roof. I actually participated in that one in high school. I had to sing. I was the dad.
Weird flex, but okay.
You know, Sound of Music. You know,
Sound of Music.
Some
okay.
of the older ones, but
okay. Do you ever watch Oklahoma?
I've seen parts of Oklahoma.
Yes. So that's from Oklahoma. Brand new state. Going to treat you great. Going to give you barley, carrots, and potatoes.
Okay.
Yeah. It sounds like a land flowing with milk and honey and June bugs and spinach and tomatoes. I don't know. I don't think about Oklahoma too much. Do you, Mac? Kitty on the board?
No.
Yeah.
No, not really.
So about 5 years ago, I was driving across America. I was driving from El Paso to Ohio. It was just a whole series of events that had led to this decision. And I was driving with my daughter. She was 19 years old at the time, Kenny on the board.
Okay.
And we're driving from El Paso to Ohio. And to do that, one of the options is drive through Oklahoma. And we're driving through Oklahoma, and we're having a great dad-daughter moment. We're in the car there together, and just...
You sang that song?
No.
Okay.
No, I was flipping through the stations, and it was a lot of country music. But we were just enjoying, traveling together, father and daughter. And we're driving through Oklahoma on our way to Ohio. And it was just kind of quiet and, some country music there in the car. And my daughter, just out of nowhere, she says, "Dad, is this the kind of state that people live in because they couldn't figure out where else to live?" And I didn't know what to say. I mean, Oklahoma looks great to me. They have... the main place I stop in Oklahoma is they have this McDonald's, Kenny on the board.
Okay.
And it's on a bridge over the highway. And they claim it's the largest McDonald's in the world.
Oh, wow.
But I'm pretty sure it's only in like square footage. because there's like 3 people in there eating. But it's a pretty big deal. I stop every time I'm drive through Oklahoma, which hasn't been since the last time when I was with my daughter, and she was confused about why people live there. So we have a very special guest today.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
He's got a good sense of humor.
Yeah, do you know why he's special?
Because he's the unique expression of an endlessly creative God.
Yes, he is the unique expression of an endlessly creative God.
And he has a good sense of humor,
Yeah.
like I said.
Also, he's not one of those unfortunate Oklahomans who couldn't find somewhere else to live. You know, very often on this program, Kenny on the board, we're like, he is a true son of the borderland.
Yes.
This guy is not a true son of the borderland.
Maybe he got inspired by the McDonald's.
He was so inspired by this massive McDonald's with no one in it that he left Oklahoma. He left it all, and he moved to El Paso. I honestly don't know. I don't know. Are you saying that's an upgrade or a downgrade, Kenny, on the board?
From moving from Oklahoma
to El Paso.
I'm sure there's benefits and downgrades on both ends.
You know, Kenny, you are a inspiration of us all, a man in whom there is no guile. I appreciate your diplomatic response to whether moving from Oklahoma to El Paso is an upgrade or downgrade.
I personally love living here in El Paso.
Yeah.
I don't miss California.
Yeah. So I think the right answer, since this is 915 Talk and this is El Paso Talk Radio, is it doesn't matter where you're coming from. You are now in the past. You are in El Paso, and it doesn't matter where you were before. This is an upgrade. Yeah. There we go. And so listen to this, Kenny, on the board. He comes from an area population. I think he said 800.
Wow.
Yeah. It's.
No wonder there was only 3 people at McDonald's.
Yeah. That might be where he's from. I don't know.
Everybody else was working there.
but get this. He was a pastor.
Okay.
But he gave all that up for the ministry. And he moved to El Paso to do ministry. It's called Doulos. Do you know what Doulos means, Kenny, on the board?
I can't remember.
I did you know before, or you?
No, I actually honestly think that I did.
Okay,
I
I think it means something like come alongside. I don't know. We'll talk about that. We're so grateful that he's come. I like how a lot of times on this program we have people who've been in El Paso for like 150 years and they know everything. And I was recently, not to brag, but I was invited to a pastor's lunch, and he was speaking. And I was like, we have to have this guy on because he has a fresh perspective. We need a fresh perspective. He's fresh off the wagon train from Oklahoma. He just came to El Paso. He's here to serve. He's with Doulos Ministries. Without further ado, let's give a very warm Borderland welcome to the one, the only, Spence McConnell. Spence, welcome to 915 Talk.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So you gave up Oklahoma to be here in El Paso. When did you arrive?
So I came down and started living in El Paso in December of 2024.
Okay.
And then finally got my family moved down here in February of last year.
Okay.
So as a family, we've been down here for right about a year now.
Okay. So 1 year in El Paso, the Spence McConnell story.
Yeah.
And you were a pastor up in Oklahoma. What went wrong that you felt the need to move to El Paso?
Listening to different people, I guess, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So I was serving in Oklahoma, serving in the pastorate in Oklahoma. And we had done quite a bit of mission work down in the Rio Grande Valley, down there further southern Texas area. And then after COVID, some of those opportunities kind of dried up, and some of those contacts moved on, namely to Nicaragua.
Okay.
And so didn't really have those contacts there. And there was a couple in the church that we went to church together, and he had retired from the Border Patrol here in El Paso. And so they said, hey, we would like to do some ministry work in the El Paso Juarez area. And I said, great. So they gave me a bunch of information, and I pursued those contacts and pursued those people, and nothing really amounted to anything. Nothing really, we didn't have any fruit that came out of that. And so I started talking to a ministry down in Chihuahua City about doing some ministry down there. And all along, that couple was still saying, we still want to go to El Paso. We still want to go to El Paso Juarez. And so contacted the ministry in Chihuahua City and said, do you have anybody that you work with, partner with there in Juarez? And they said yes. And so they put us in contact with the couple who we came down to serve with.
Okay. And so the beginning of this story is your church in Oklahoma is thinking about, hey, we need to go on mission trips. Let's go to the border.
Sure.
So you come to the Rio Grande Valley, farther south in Texas. Why did you choose that? I mean, you can go to Guatemala, you can go to, I don't know, Italy, you can go anywhere. What was it about that really was the impetus for your church choosing the border?
So part of it was open doors. My mother, they were involved with the ministry down there in the McAllen, Texas, Donna, Texas, Weslaco. We were there in Reynosa, Rio Bravo, Progreso. My mother, the church that she attended, already had some contacts there. And so we just kind of piggybacked when those doors were opened. And so that was really just a matter of those where the open doors were at. And that's where we were chasing after of those contacts. And with my family, we like to do ministry together.
Okay.
And so with the children, it's not as easy, if you're going to try to fly a family of 8 to Russia or to Argentina or somewhere, it's just not as easy. And so that's where the border lane just really was a good fit for us.
Wow, I must have heard that wrong. You said family of 8.
No, that's correct.
One wife?
One wife so far.
Yeah.
So far, she's kind of protective of that status. And one wife so far, and then God has blessed us with 6 children.
6 children. Wow.
Yes,
Oldest and youngest?
Oldest is 18, and the youngest is 3.
Okay. Wow.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as a family, you saw, hey, we can jump in our what are you driving?
Well, today it's a van.
Okay.
It's a van. It used to be a Suburban.
Okay.
And then we had
You outgrew the Suburban.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So is it like one of those vans you can't actually buy? You just have to rent it somewhere?
Well, you can do either. You
Okay.
can do either. They will let you rent them, or you can buy them. And so
Okay.
we bought one. And
Okay.
so we have the what you can imagine of the 15-passenger
The
van.
McConnell mobile.
The McConnell Mobile. That's right.
Okay. All right. And you're like, we're heading south from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I want to say this is interesting because you're coming down from Oklahoma, you're coming to the border, and it's interesting. I don't know how many hour drive that is, but what a cultural divide between those two places, right?
Yes.
And so what are the opportunities for someone who doesn't understand the border to come in and serve?
So currently, we try to be a resource for churches and groups outside of the borderland to come down and serve on both sides. And so we do ministry in Juarez, and then we do ministry. We're pursuing ministry in El Paso. And so there's a lot of humanitarian work that people can come in, and we use the humanitarian work as an avenue to share the gospel.
Okay.
And to tell people about Jesus. There's also opportunity to do outreach. Compared to where we are at in Oklahoma, there's a lot of El Paso, and especially Juarez, that is unchurched as well as unreached with the gospel of Jesus. And so there's a lot of opportunities just to do door knocking, street evangelism, outreach to support churches and strengthen churches. And so there are a lot of opportunities.
Okay, so we'll get to Juarez. You said that El Paso has a lot of unreached areas, particularly compared to Oklahoma. Dive a bit deeper into that.
Okay. So I've been here a year. So your listeners or even yourself may be shouting at the radio, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Okay.
However, the education that I've received tells me that there is, for every 1,723 persons in El Paso, there is one church. And we're not talking about an evangelical church. We are not talking about a gospel believing church. We're just talking about any organization that calls themselves a church.
Okay.
And so we have, over 1,500 people per church. And my experience so far is that not every church in the El Paso area has 1,500 people in it.
Right.
So coming from Oklahoma, coming from a town of 800, coming from a area that was much more saturated when it comes to people's experience and background within the church, and coming to El Paso, we have found that there are a lot of individuals that have the tradition of Catholic in their background, but have never gone to church, have never been involved with the church, and have a very limited understanding of what the church is. And so there's just an opportunity when it comes to the neighborhoods that we've been able to be a part of, an opportunity to go in and see that there's just not the same level of understanding or awareness that we
Okay,
saw in Oklahoma.
so when you said go into a neighborhood, when you're talking to folks, what does a conversation look like?
Well, it greatly depends on what language they're speaking. And so that's been a big challenge for us, having come from an environment where very little Spanish was spoken to a city that my understanding is over 80% bilingual. And that's something that we had not anticipated or had any experience with going into neighborhoods that are Spanish speaking. And that presents an opportunity and a challenge when you go in on how to communicate to people in their language.
Yeah.
And that is something that we didn't get to experience in Oklahoma.
Right. But as far as if you're speaking to someone, there's not a language barrier.
Sure.
You talked about the number differences. I would assume in a city of 800 in Oklahoma, you have 10 churches. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but it's
13.
a lot. 13.
13.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I was I was not exaggerating. So 13 churches in a city of 800. You said there's one church per 1,726, whatever the number was in El Paso. That I believe it is important to look at those numbers, but tell me how the conversations are different.
So the conversations are different because not everybody has the same. Well, and I was talking about this today with the men in Juarez, that we just assume in Oklahoma that everybody has a church story or a church background, whether it's going to church with their grandma or having gone to church and vacation Bible schools as a child. And now we have found people that have never been to church before. And when you start talking about God, they're familiar with the name of God. But as far as the Bible, the concept of being a sinner separated from God, the concept of God loving them and sending Jesus to die for them, the concept of salvation by grace, that is a different concept. And so some of the conversations start off with first getting permission to speak to them about spiritual matters, and getting some buy-in that we're not just pushing ourselves upon them, but then at the same time asking them, what do they know about God and what do they believe about God, and using that as a segue into discussing their spiritual condition by starting with, what do you believe about God?
So you're saying you actually go door to door and knock doors?
We have. It depends on the people that we have coming in. If we have mission teams that have come in that have said, hey, we would be interested in doing that, that's definitely something to do. That's also been something that, coming from Oklahoma, that was something we did regularly, and something that was not very uncommon.
Yeah.
And then we get down here and people are like, no, you don't knock on someone else's door.
Okay.
Well, why not?
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand.
Okay, so there might be one or two listeners right now who have never knocked doors.
Sure.
To share their faith.
Sure.
Maybe 3, I don't know. And you said that when you start the conversation, you basically get permission to talk on spiritual matters. Is there an openness to talk about those subjects?
There is, and there is not. It depends on the person to person. And it's one of those things that with ministry, in my experience with ministry, you understand that not every time you're at bat is going to be a home run.
Right.
Sometimes it's a foul, sometimes it's a strike, sometimes it's a base hit. A home run is not every time. And so you got to understand that you are being used by God used in spiritual warfare, and you're being used to be an avenue by which God can reach the hearts of people.
Right. But what is that first interaction like, again, as compared to Oklahoma, where everyone has a church story?
Sure.
Is it more difficult here, less difficult?
It has been more difficult. It has been more difficult because it's awkward, because I do not look like the vast majority of people, and they assume that I am there to get something from them. They assume that I am there to take advantage of them, and so it is more difficult. But it's an opportunity.
Sure. Okay. No, I think it's important for us to, whether a listener agrees with what you're saying or not.
Sure.
I think it's important for us to wrestle with these things and not to, as the church in El Paso, become complacent and say, we've got this.
Yeah.
And there's what you're saying essentially is there's still work to do in El Paso.
There's a lot of opportunities in El Paso.
Yeah. Love it. If you're just joining us, we're with Spence McConnell. He's with Doulos Ministries. We will later on in the program get deeper into all the ministries you're doing in Juarez. It truly is amazing, and just hear your heart for both sides of the border here. We do need to take a break. Before we go into the break, this is your daily reminder that 915 Talk is a production of Desert Voice Media and is listener supported. So the site is just that, desertvoice.media, and we made a giant green donate button so you would not miss it. And so if you go to desertvoice.media and click on that donate button, you can donate online securely and be a part of our mission to serve our region through radio ministry. We're so grateful to each and every one of you who listen to us each afternoon, who share about this program with your friends, your relatives, your loved ones. We truly do want to be on an educational journey as we learn to love our city, love our neighbors, give God all the glory. As we're talking about today, we're learning to look at our city from the perspective of someone who hasn't been here so long, and just seeing it maybe with some fresh eyes and be inspired to get out there and meet some people and have some conversations. We do need to go into a break. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
915 Talk is listener supported and is a production of Desert Voice Media. That's right. It's people just like you who make this program possible. Together with Desert Voice, you can learn how to better serve our neighbors and pray for our community. To become a Desert Voice Media partner, you can visit desertvoice.media. That's right. That's the website, desertvoice.media. Take a look and join us today in reaching our borderland for Christ.
Testify.
When I was 11 years old, my parents had an abusive relationship that ended with a divorce. My father began drinking excessively and my mother left us. I took responsibility for my siblings, but in the process, I built up aggression and anger because I didn't have a normal teenage life. I began fighting and got kicked out of school. My last fight led to charges being pressed against me. I was on the path to juvenile. Thankfully, it did not go any further. I was giving community hours. In search of a place that could help me, I ended up in church. During the worship practices, I fell in love with the music they played for God. I was asked if I wanted to sing with the band. I automatically said yes. I married the worship leader and now have 2 beautiful kids. God rescued me from the dark path I was on and molded me to the wife and mother I am today. He brought the peace that I was in search of during my teenage years. My name is Jeanette Delgado. If God did this for me, He can do it for you.
And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb
And by the word of their testimony.
Desertvoice.media.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
We are back, and you are listening to 915 Talk. Today, I'm your host, Andy Frecka. Today, we're with Spence McConnell of Doulos Ministries. He came from the brand new state where they're going to give you barley, carrots, and potatoes from Oklahoma.
Does it really say potatoes?
It literally says potatoes.
Okay.
And termators.
Termators.
Yeah.
It really says termators.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just reading the lyrics to Oklahoma. What do you miss about Oklahoma?
Grass, oak trees, hills, ponds, Just there was a lot of stuff that we took for granted,
Yeah.
living in not the high desert.
So I'll tell you this. When I ended up in El Paso, I did not have the good attitude that you have, Spence McConnell of Doulos Ministries. I did not. I literally had to start a radio program to go on an educational journey to love my new city, love my neighbors, and give God all the glory. And I was not knocking doors for the Lord. I was knocking doors to put food on the table.
Yeah.
I was selling solar panels. I was selling the financial benefits of renewable energy. But it was interesting for me because I love hiking. And when I first came to El Paso, I tried to go on a hike with my sons, and they're like, "What is this?" Because it kind of felt like we were walking for 45 minutes and nothing had changed.
Yes.
But I just want you to know, Spence, that over time you'll begin to see the beauty.
Well, we've been all across the Franklin Mountains, Gilligan Canyons, up there about close where we live, and then the Tin Mines on the north side.
You went to the Tin Mine? Okay.
We've been over there, and
Okay.
then we've been there where the Franklin Mountain State Park is on Trans Mountain. We've been over there a little ways, and so we've explored some of it. But it's different. I tell people from Oklahoma when they ask me, I said it's just different.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's just not the same.
Yeah. Have you been to Waco Tanks?
We have.
Okay.
We have. We've been
right.
over there a couple of times and seen some of their drawings and let the boys run around. And so, yes, it's a cool place.
Yeah. I love that you've been there. I've met people in El Paso who have never been to Waco Tanks.
Wow.
I consider that to be a crime and a pity shame. And so may your story of already going to Waco Tanks be an inspiration to us all. Let's talk Juarez a little bit.
Sure.
Doulos Ministries, I know, is involved with a bunch of things down there. Give us the list.
Sure. So when we came down, just kind of to finish, if the listener is still wondering about the transition. So when we came down, I originally came down looking for opportunities for the church to serve here in the borderland. And so when we came down, the interest was how can the church be involved? And so we came down, we met a couple that was here that started the ministry 25 years ago. And there was a lot of opportunities to serve in Juarez with that ministry. And so we talked to them about ways the church can be involved. And there was a lot of positives, but then they mentioned that they were in the process of looking towards retirement, and there was not anybody to continue the ministry and to continue the legacy that they had began.
Right.
And so we thought, well, that's kind of a bummer. And then in the course of a couple of weeks, God made it very clear to my wife and I that we were to be that continuation plan, and we were to continue that. So that's where the transition came for my family and I coming down here to continue the ministry and continue doing in that thread. So we've only been down here a year, but we are continuing a ministry that's been in existence for over 25 years.
Okay.
So what Doulos Ministry does today, it started off as primarily a training program for pastors, teachers, and leaders that are serving in the Juarez area. So the founding couple realized that there were a lot of gaps in education and theological understanding. And so they created a program to train these pastors, teachers, and leaders on how to best serve the community and the churches there in Juarez. And so they started that program, and some of the graduates from that program that have remained in the Juarez area have continued to do different ministries in the area. So there's churches that are part of the ministry, kids clubs, they call them Comodores, that are part of the ministry, drug rehabilitation centers, ministry there in central downtown of Juarez. And then during the violence and the height of the violence, the ministry was able to get into all the fire stations, all the police departments, the state police, the state prison, National Guard, and more of in a ministerial type. They go in, pray for the men, encourage the men, see how they can love and minister to the men. And so there's opportunities there that they're involved with.
Okay, so it's training up leaders, church leaders, also working with Like you said, the police, the firefighters, is it kind of chaplaincy?
I think it's a form of chaplaincy, yes, but it's not necessarily sanctioned by the government
Right,
or
like it would be
a
in the
parachurch
States.
organization.
Sure. Okay. All right. Well, I want to dive into all those things more deeply. If you're just joining us, we're with Spence McConnell. He's with Doulos Ministries. He's been in El Paso about a year. He gave up the life of oak trees and green grass and ponds
And potatoes.
and potatoes and tomatoes and moved from Oklahoma to El Paso. I love having just a fresh perspective about what's going on. We'll dive deeper into all these things, but right now we have Charlie One on the phone. Charlie One, what are you seeing out on the roads this afternoon?
Well, actually, Andy, too much to get to right now because we got crashes all over the place. I want to start on the west side where we have Mesa and Belvedere injury crash that they're working on right now, Mesa and Belvedere. Then let's go to South Desert and Mesa. Injury crash. All the middle lanes are blocked right there, South Desert and Mesa. Downtown Kansas and Franklin on a crash. Northeast Dyer and Innovation on a crash. In the valley, Petty and Lucero injury crash working there. Also in the valley, we have Alameda, East and West and Padres. All lanes right there. All lanes are closed there. That's the detour of that. Again, that's in the valley, Alameda, East, West, and Padres. So that's completely all the lanes are blocked right there. Heavy traffic. You're certainly tapping on the brakes. I-10 West Cotton through Spaghetti Bowl area. And then another point of congestion is I-10 East at Artcraft, where they take away the left lane. That backs up the traffic, the trade center there on those eastbound lanes. So, Andy, PD busy with those crashes right now. Back to you.
Charlie One, this afternoon we have Spence McConnell with us. He's with Doulos Ministries. They're serving a lot of the local churches here in El Paso and Juarez. And sometimes they have missions teams to come in and serve here in the borderland from places like Oklahoma. And one of the really difficulties of the citizens of the fine state of Oklahoma is that they are not able to experience a true bowl of the Breakfast of Champions here in the borderland. When they come to visit our great border city, where would you recommend that they find a homemade bowl of menudo?
Homemade bowl, and they can take it home and at their own leisure, at their own time. They can eat it. It's homemade. Eastside Choice Meats and Lumaland and Traywood. All you got to do is go pick it up. It's homemade. It's and just ready to take it home and put it in the oven, put it in the microwave, whichever you choose, and it's ready to go. Eastside Choice Meats, Lumaland and Traywood, Andy.
Thank you, Charlie One. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
And we're back with Spence McConnell of Doulos Ministries, talking about serving here in El Paso. I think what our listeners really want to know, Spence, is have you tried menudo?
Well, yes. However, I have been told that menudo is different at every single place.
Okay.
So the one place I tried it, it did not taste like the tomatoes and the potatoes that I had in Oklahoma. And so they said, oh, no, see, that was not the right place to try the menudo. You need to go to this other location to try menudo. And so I have tried it. It is on the same category as the chicharrones and the tripitas. I have not developed an affinity for it yet, but there's always time.
I feel like we should have an awkward pause after that.
Well, my 16-year-old loves, I mean, he asks for chicharrones in Juarez. When we get burros, he will say, I want chicharron burros, and I don't understand it. And that's fine. That's great.
Okay. I mean, you're on a journey.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yes.
Have you heard what the secret to a good bowl of menudo is?
No.
Oh, okay. We'll cover that some other time. We're all on an educational journey.
Sure.
Yeah, but Eastside Choice Meats. So you were talking about training leaders. I believe you mentioned a couple other things when you were speaking at the pastors' meeting.
So we do some other ministries when we work with some of the indigenous groups, especially the Tarahumara's. There, we work with them, as well as just family ministries, whether it's men's, ladies' retreats, marriage retreats, and we try to serve the community as much as possible because we understand there's a lot of needs, especially with the families and broken families, And so we are just seeking to be a resource to the community and using those ministry partners there in Juarez to promote spiritual truth, to promote spiritual light, but also do it in a way that builds up and strengthens the family and the communities.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, I actually know nothing about the indigenous communities.
Well, I know barely any more than you do.
Okay.
So my understanding, and your listeners can correct me, and I like to be corrected, but my understanding is most of them are coming from the Copper Canyon, the Sierra Madres further south. They're coming out of the canyons and coming out of the hills in a very impoverished situation, that they are looking for a better life and they're looking for better opportunities in just livelihood and upward mobility. And so they're migrating to cities like Juarez, but when they get there or get here to Juarez, they are not well received, and more in almost kind of like a discriminatory way, where the local population do not see them as being equal. And so some of them are relegated to what they call colonias. And so there are some pockets, some neighborhoods where my understanding is the government has set those neighborhoods aside as being Tarahumara communities. And so they're just kind of stuck off in those communities by themselves, and that's where they're supposed to stay. And we have an opportunity with some of the partnerships we have an opportunity to go in and love on them, to encourage them. They have a different language. The Tarahumara language is a little different than what we consider to be border Spanish. And so there's just an opportunity to go in that, even though some of them may feel rejected by the local community, some of them may feel neglected or even discriminated against, we're able to go in and love on them.
Love it. Let's talk about the fear of going to Juarez.
What about it? So this is where I have the luxury, having not been here for the last 20 years. So I do not come from a standpoint of been through the violence.
Yeah.
I don't have that history that is there. So I don't have a pre-time where my family and I would go over on a Friday night and eat at the smallest McDonald's in the world there in Juarez, and then come back. And then the violence, we don't have any of that experience. So we show up as Oklahomans.
Wait, hold on. This is a super serious subject. But did you say the smallest McDonald's in the world is in Juarez?
I just made that up.
Oh,
you were poking fun. You were poking fun at the largest McDonald's in Veneta.
Oh, wait. You know where it is?
Yes, sir. I have my certified Oklahoma resident card, and you have to. Part of the checklist is you have to have visited the McDonald's that crosses the Roy Rogers Turnpike. You have to attend there to become a certified Oklahoman. You have to have experienced that.
Okay, so anyway, back to the fear of going to Juarez as a certified Oklahoman.
Yes.
Yeah, please continue.
Okay, so we don't have that past experience. So I know, and I don't want to minimize or make light of what people along the borderland experienced and dealt with. I never want anybody to think, oh, he's not taking it seriously, because I that's not my heart and that's not my intention. However, there's a lot of lost people in Juarez. There's a lot of lost people that are going to go to hell unless they get right with the Lord. And I don't want to stand before God one day and say, you know what? I was going off 15-year-old data, and I was just too scared to go in and love on people. And again, being new to the area, my information may be wrong, but my understanding is that population of Juarez is a little bit over 2 million people. The average age in Juarez is 26, and based upon the information that I have, what I understand is less than 10% consider themselves to be evangelical born-again believers. So the math works out to about 1.5 million plus people that are in Juarez that if they were to die today, they will spend an eternity in hell. And yes, there are dangers. Yes, there's threats being there. At the same time, we also mitigate that. And I don't want to be coarse on your program, but we don't do dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Growing up, it was you play dumb games, you get dumb prizes. So, there's places I don't go at dark in Juarez. There's places that I don't just go advertising and flashing around that I'm a white guy that is still trying to learn Spanish. So there's places that I don't go and that I don't.
That truth is self-evident to everyone who sees you.
Some people, it's surprising how many people don't catch that the very first time when they look at me, but or they think I'm Mennonito. That's right. Another thing that they look at me and they assume I'm Mennonite.
Okay.
And so they think that I'm further
you
down.
You actually
south.
do look a little Mennonite. Have you considered? You didn't like that?
Well, no, I don't see it. I don't see it. My beard's too short.
Right.
And most Mennonites aren't usually this large,
right.
rotund. Okay. And so I don't see it, but that's what they say. So
okay. I mean, you might consider leaning into that and, just a checkered shirt. Coming from Oklahoma, I assume you have some in your closet.
I do have pearl snap. Yes, I do have pearl snap shirts.
Love it. If you're just joining us for Spence McConnell, someone's listening and they're just saying, hey, I need to go out and do something. Hopefully there's someone like that.
Sure.
How do they find you? Should I give your number on air, your cell number? What are we doing?
So you can, to the website, we try to make that the first place people can go.
Could you have come up with a website that wasn't based on a Greek word that I have to spell?
I could have, yes, sir.
But you did not.
No. We want to make it. If you're going to come to the website, you're going to have to do it intentionally. You're not just going to. You're just not going to accidentally trip and fall into this.
So tell us about this name, Doulos.
Okay, so the name Doulos comes from 2 Corinthians 4 and verse 5, where Paul is writing, and he just says that to the people that he's writing to, that he and those that are with Paul consider themselves to be bondservants of Christ, that they are there to serve the kingdom, they're there to serve the people, and they are there to serve at the whim and the will of Jesus Christ. And so that bondservant goes back in the original language to the Greek word doulos. And so when we were thinking about what is it that we're coming to do, we're coming to serve the borderland. We're coming to serve the people. We're not coming to serve our agenda. We're not coming to serve some mothership in Oklahoma that's going to direct us. We are coming down here to serve people, to love people, and tell them about Jesus. And so that's where that word came from. So the website, DOULOSMX for Mexico.
Yes.
Some people don't always catch that.
Right.
DoulosMX.org. That's kind of the front door, the storefront that we encourage people to go to. We're on social media, which is not really my strong suit, but we are there. And but that would be a great place for people to go to learn more about the ministry. Our contact information is on there, and we encourage people to go to learn about, one, how they can be involved, how they can pray. That's the first thing we do is we ask people, please pray. Pray for the ministry. Pray for the ministry partners in Juarez. We have the luxury of traversing the border each and every day. So this morning at 7, I drive into Juarez. We do all of our training program, our ministry program there. And then, 2:30, I'm driving back across. And there's a large segment of the people that we work with ministerially that sleep in Juarez. And there's a lot more experiences and conditions they're exposed to that I'm not exposed to.
Right.
And so we, we're able to traverse the border each and every day that we are going back and forth, and we're, so people can pray for the ministry, pray for the ministry partners that are there in Juarez, and then be involved. Your listenership would have an opportunity if they want to go and physically serve, physically be a part of. On the way back today, coming back into El Paso, I was on the phone with a couple over in Horizon City, and they said, hey, we're interested. Can you drive us across, give us the nickel tour, and then bring us back over and kind of let us kind of see what the options are? And I said, absolutely. Please, I'd love to take you. I'll be your tour guide. I'll be your chauffeur. I can even get a microphone or a bullhorn and give you the whole stop. But, we can go in and I can drive you around and show you places we minister, introduce you to people we're ministering to. So I encourage people to pray, people to consider being involved. And then just like your radio station, we are completely supported by the generosity of God working through the pockets of people.
All right. So doulosmx.org. That's DOULOSMX.org. I love that people from around El Paso are calling Horizon City, wanting to go do something in Juarez.
Yes.
Speak into the dynamic of El Paso churches serving in Juarez. What is your observation?
Not favorable.
Okay.
Not favorable. I have been surprised, and please, for your listeners that are screaming at the radio in objection, I don't know every church, and I don't know what every church does, but I've been really surprised at the number of people that I have met and the number of churches that I've met that are very involved missionally, internationally, but they are not very involved right here. And some of it is safety concerns. Some of it is just the risk that are across the border they just don't want to deal with. And so, but I have been very disappointed in the lack of ministries right here in El Paso that are extending across the border. And it just, and that's something that I've tried to be humble and try to learn and go, well, there's got to be good reasons and there's got to be rationales that are there. And I don't want to come in as somebody with my, would you call it, tomatoes and potatoes and my certified Oklahoma card. And I don't want to come in with this arrogance of, well, they don't know what they're doing. I want to learn. I want to be humble and listen. But I've been really surprised with the lack of involvement that I see from churches in Juarez. I know there are some. I'm not trying to say that nobody. Right. I know there are some, but on proportion, I think it's far less than what I was expecting when I came here.
Okay, you kind of hinted at some of the reasons why you think that is. I'm going to ask you to speak into that a little bit more. And again, you're not saying that you know the answer. Maybe it's a little bit of speculation, but I think it's helpful for the listener. They're part of a church to at least understand how it might be perceived and get some ideas.
So in my opinion, the challenge is not just an El Paso challenge. The challenge is a church at large challenge with people being comfortable and people being complacent in their various places of worship and not taking seriously the command from Jesus to go and not taking seriously the burden that God has towards lost people. His burden is so great that he sent his son to die on a cross so that lost people might have a opportunity to have a right relationship with him. And God has a burden for the lost people. And from my experience and from my perspective, not just in El Paso, in the 15 years that I pastored in Oklahoma, it's the same situation up there. People are comfortable and complacent, and they don't have a burden for lost people. And they don't have a burden for lost people the way that I read that Jesus did, that Paul did, that the disciples did. And I think that one of the things that I would love to see churches here along the borderland really consider is where is their burden for lost people at? And not just in a humanitarian way. I mean, I know there's a lot of good ministries that are clothing people and feeding people and housing people, and those are great and they have their place. But I think by and large, the Christian community does not have a burden for lost people the way that we should.
Okay, so you're saying the church at large does not have a burden for lost people in the way that we should. But you have teams that want to come down from other parts of the country. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. More than people in your observation who want to go from El Paso to Juarez. Is that true what I'm saying?
Well, I wouldn't want to paint it that broad. I don't think that'd be fair because the teams that are coming from out of state are teams that I have had experience with in the past. So I would be much more inclined to make a statement like that maybe 10 years from now, having more experience and more time. I'm still very much in the early phases of meeting people, networking with people, learning people, just like meeting you a couple weeks ago, and just having an opportunity to introduce myself and to learn who is where and to learn what ministries are healthy, what ministries are rightly motivated, and just how can I come alongside and serve the borderland.
Okay. Yeah. No, the reason I'm asking this is I've spoken with ministries that work in Juarez that have teams come and visit, and they've given up on talking to churches in El Paso about sending teams to Juarez. You haven't given up yet.
Oh no. There's a lot more pastors, a lot more ministries that that I haven't spoken to. And even if they say no today, that doesn't mean no tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
That just means that maybe they need more information.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that you're not coming in like you know everything. It's you just feel a simple mandate from Scripture to share the good news of Christ with the lost.
Yes.
And you're trying to learn about the borderland.
Yes.
And the reason I'm pressing you is because I think it is useful for us as the church in El Paso to hear a new perspective. And I think a lot of times when you've been in a situation for a long time, or lived in the same place for a long time, it can be like, well, that's just the way it is.
Right.
And you don't know. And well, let's wrestle with that a little bit. Let's not be content with the way things are.
Right.
And I love also that my understanding of what you're doing is with Doulos is really you're not creating your own ministries. You're serving existing ministries.
Yes.
Yeah, love it. If you're just joining us, we're with Spence McConnell. He's with Doulos Ministries here in El Paso. He's been here a little bit over a year. He's learning the ropes, but I say all this, and I've been to Juarez 3 times in the 4 years I've been here, and it was super interesting. I enjoyed it. I made it some years ago to a couple of the immigrant camps, and just seeing what was there. And I don't know any of the answers, but it was interesting to be there. And I love that you're just going over, and also you said you're doing your best not to play stupid games, and going to the right places at the right times, and just looking for opportunity. Now, Spence, when you came in today, you said you listened to like 12 recordings of 915 Talk.
Yes.
You did your homework.
But in my defense, I didn't.
Why do you need to?
Well, because somebody may say, why only 12?
Oh no, that's most people come in. They're like, I've never heard.
Okay.
Yeah. You're doing good. You don't need to get defensive. Everything's good. Okay, so I don't know. First of all, for our listeners, I love that you're listening on the radio. You can also listen on podcast format. It's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeart, whatever it would be. So you listen to 12. You listen to double speed.
Yes.
And I don't know which 12 you listen to. But we have a special part of the program. And especially for someone who's been around a year. We need to get an idea of where you're at. So it's rapid fire questions. And did you hear this part?
I have not. No, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a special part of the program.
Okay.
For Spence McConnell of Doulos Ministries. And it's rapid fire. So just answer. We are Christian radio, so we do believe in right and wrong answers. But also because we're Christian radio, we do our best not to be judgmental when you give a wrong answer.
We listen and we don't judge.
Right. So without further ado, Kenny on the board, cue up the lightning round.
Lightning round.
So first question, Spence McConnell of Doulos Ministries. It's a question that you're asked when you go out to eat here in the borderland. It's a culinary question. The question is this: red or green?
Green.
That is correct. And where is your favorite place to answer that question?
My favorite place?
Yes.
Okay, Tacos Don Cuco.
That is correct.
Is there an incorrect?
Well, if you've given someone else's favorite
Oh,
place.
okay.
I said,
okay.
what's your favorite place?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Tacos Don Cuco. I like that place,
Okay.
too. What tacos do you go for when you're there?
It's the ones I'm gonna butcher the word, but it's the not alamada, not yeah.
Okay.
Meat with peppers and onions.
Okay. All right. And let's say you have someone coming to visit El Paso, which you do pretty often. and you want to impress them with this city that you now call home. You want them to be blown away by El Paso. Where's a place that you will take them?
Scenic Overlook.
That's not a restaurant.
Scenic Overlook.
That is correct. Okay. Let's talk downtown a little bit. Have you ever been downtown El Paso?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is the theme of the Central Plaza?
The alligator in the fountain? Is that what you're referring to?
The
Or is it a
alligator.
crocodile?
Yeah, alligators. Alligators. That is correct.
Placento part?
You're doing good.
Okay.
You're doing good.
Okay.
It is the alligators. Do you know why there is the theme of alligators?
I do not.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
You're learning. No, Kenny, be nice. This is Christian radio. So you're going to think I'm making this up.
Okay.
But there used to be live alligators there.
I believe you.
And they had to take them away and just put in an alligator statue. I think people were getting in fights with the alligators. This is true. They were stealing the alligators and as pranks and putting them inside El Paso High. Things were just getting out of control with the alligators. So they put in a statue. How many alligators are in the alligator statue?
2.
No. Yeah, you were doing so good.
I guess. I didn't know.
So at the beginning of this program, we say the world is looking at El Paso. What will we say to the world? And the reason we ask that question is because when I moved to El Paso, what I saw is the world is looking at El Paso, but very often it's a correspondent who flies in from New York City to tell the world about El Paso. As someone who is now an El Pasoan, what is one thing you want the world to know about your new city?
We need more grass. More grass, please. More grass. The gravel. It's different. It's so different.
Yeah. Do you have gravel in your yard? Is that a little bit rough for you?
Well, we have goat heads.
Yes.
And the gravel.
Mm-hmm.
And dirt. And dirt.
Don't worry. You'll begin to see the beauty of Spence McConnell.
Well, yeah. I am looking forward to it.
Yeah. All right. And if you could pray one prayer for El Paso and Juarez, what would that prayer be?
A greater awareness of the majesty of God, and a greater recognition of the sovereignty of God over our lives, and a greater understanding that every single one of us will stand before God one day and give an account for our lives. And when we stand before God, it will not be a matter of our money, our secular success, our last names, our ethnicity. It'll be just a matter of what we did for the kingdom.
Love it. Spence, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
I truly enjoyed this. Doulos Ministries, DOULOSMX.org. And whether someone reaches out to you to maybe do something together or for you to give them your tour of Juarez
Yes.
or whatever the case would be, I do hope that this conversation has inspired our audience to do one more thing to reach out to their neighbor.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
As we always say, let's learn to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory. This has been 915 Talk. You have been listening to 915 Talk, a production of Desert Voice Media. To listen to this or any previous edition of 915 Talk, just visit desertvoice.media and click on the 915 Talk link. Let's continue to learn to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory.
Hi,